You've seen the headlines, and if you live in rural America, you've seen the reality. A quarter of Americans used to be farmers. Today, it's less than 2%. That statistic alone should stop us for a moment, because back in the 1980s, we were the undisputed superpower of the field. If the world wanted to eat, they came to us. And for a lot of Americans, farming wasn't just a job, it was independence. It was ownership. It was the idea that if you worked the land hard enough and long enough, you could build something that lasted longer than you. But today, that idea is quietly slipping away. We're facing something unprecedented, a record $50 billion agricultural trade deficit. For the first time, the breadbasket to the world is importing more than it's shipping out. Now that sounds grim, but let's be clear, this isn't a funeral, it's a wake-up call. We still have the best soil and the hardest working people on the planet. There is a way back, but it starts with looking at the hard truths our competitors are using to eat our lunch. This is GeoCurrent, and today we're looking at why the American farmer and cowboy are being pushed to the brink and how we can start talking about a way to pull them back. Last time, we talked about how we lost the soybean market in China, but that was just the warning shot. The real story is that the U.S. farmer is no longer too big to fail. While we've been bogged down in red tape, countries like Brazil and Russia have been building. They've got better infrastructure and lower costs. In the global market, if you aren't the cheapest, you're the first to be replaced. But here's the good news. American quality and innovation are still the best in the world. The problem isn't our product, it's the system around it. Today, we're zooming out from soy to the entire ranch and field. Before we dive into the heavy data, I want to ask you, have you seen a farm in your area pivot to something new, maybe direct-to-consumer beef or specialized crops? Those are the sparks of hope. We're seeing a new generation of agpreneurs who are finding ways to bypass the big corporate middleman. If we can protect that independence, we can save the legacy. Let's talk common sense math. The numbers for today's farming are very different from those in the 90s. Inflation has turned the family farm into a trap. Back then, equipment was mechanical, it was rugged. You could fix your own tractor with a wrench and a bit of grease. Today, a new combine harvester can cost $800,000. That's the price of a luxury home in most parts of the country. And the kicker? You don't even really own the brain of the machine. Software locks and right-to-repair hurdles mean you're essentially a tenant on your own equipment, waiting for a corporate tech to show up and charge you $500 just to plug in a laptop. That means downtime during harvest requires a dealer, a technician, and a bill that keeps growing. And most farms don't operate on cash alone. They operate on operating loans. That's how modern agriculture works. So when interest rates rise, the cost of simply staying in business can double almost overnight. Now look at the margin gap. Since 2011, the prices we pay for fuel, fertilizer, and seed have climbed nearly 50%. But the prices we get for corn, soy, and wheat, they've stayed flat or even dropped when you adjust for inflation. You were paying 2026 prices for your inputs, but getting 1990s paychecks for your output. When you add in rising property taxes and new environmental regulations that only the mega farms have the staff to handle, the family farm becomes a mathematical impossibility. Farming has always been risky, but it used to be a risk you could manage. Today, many farmers feel like they're carrying all the risk while someone else controls the terms. Now let's talk about a topic that gets a lot of political heat, but we need to look at it through the lens of a farmer's reality. Labor. Modern farming still needs people, especially during planting and harvest. For decades, a large share of that labor came from immigrant workers, not because of politics, but because the work was hard, seasonal, and physically demanding. That workforce is shrinking from two directions. On one hand, it has become much harder for new workers to enter legally using H-2A visas for seasonal agricultural jobs. On the other, intensified enforcement is clearing out even the workers who have been here for decades. When ICE raids hit a rural county, it doesn't just remove people, It removes the hands that harvest the food. When the labor disappears, the crops rot. We need a system that works for the farm, not just for a political soundbite. Without a reliable workforce, we're just handing our markets to the Brazilians on a silver platter. Next is the hardest part to talk about. This isn't just about balance sheets, it's about lives. There's a documented mental health crisis in the heartland. U.S. farmers now have a suicide rate much higher than the national average. Now, why is that? It's because for a farmer, bankruptcy isn't just a financial filing. It is the loss of a multi-generational legacy. It is the shame of being the one who lost the land that has been in your family since your great-grandfather broke the sod. The average farmer is now 58 years old. When they look at the debt, the regulations, and the $800,000 tractors, they realize their kids can't afford to take over. When that land goes to auction, it isn't another young family buying it. It's a hedge fund, it's an investment firm, it's a corporate entity that sees the land as a managed asset rather than a home. This may be the last generation where farming is a family identity rather than a corporate job description. If you're feeling that weight, please know there are people to talk to. We've put some resources in the description. And then there is the threat to the very lifeblood of the farm, the seed. For 12,000 years, if you grew a crop, you saved the seeds to plant next year. That was the ultimate form of independence. Today, corporate giants have replaced that tradition with patents and contracts. If you save a patented seed today, you can be sued into the ground. But there's a technology sitting on the shelf called Terminator Seeds, or GeoCurrent. These are seeds engineered to be sterile after one harvest. Imagine a world where you have to go to a corporate office every single spring just to buy the right to plant your own dirt. If Terminator technology is ever fully unleashed, the farmer becomes a permanent serf to the corporation. Control the seed, and you control the food supply. We're moving towards a total centralization of life itself, and it's a trend that should concern every person who values freedom. So where's the silver lining? It's the fact that America will always grow food. Our soil is too rich to stay empty. But the version of American farming that built this country, the independent land-owning citizen farmer, is being pushed to the brink of extinction. We are trading our agricultural independence for corporate efficiency. The end of the Soybean Empire wasn't a one-off event. It was the first chapter in a story where we lose our leverage. But it doesn't have to end this way. By supporting right to repair, pushing for sensible labor reform, and protecting seed sovereignty, we can keep the family in the family farm. I want to hear from you. Do you think the move towards corporate-owned megafarms is just an inevitability of the future, or is there still a way for the family-owned farm to survive and thrive? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read as many as I can, and your perspective matters more than any headline. Thanks for watching. This is GeoCurrent.